What's up, guys? Welcome back to the JP and Trav show. It's your boy JP. I got my homie Trav with me. Trav, how you feeling?
What up, man? I'm feeling great. Feeling great.
Hey, you on your way somewhere in a little bit?
Yeah, Bahamas here in about 10 hours. So, yep, got a little more packing to do. My Apple Watch is updating, my phone's updating. So hopefully those go quickly. But yeah, I'm all COVID tested and visaed and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to be heading out, watching the Masters in a resort pool with a cocktail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You gonna be living the life. You doing that? I got 5 gym classes and 2 games tomorrow night. So I wish we could switch, but neither here nor there. Hey, so we have Jalen Ross on with us tonight. He owns Sooner Sports Daily and helps out with the guys over at Sooner Scoop. So without further ado, I'll let Jalen Ross go ahead and come on to the show. Jalen, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Can't complain.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know when I reached out to you, I was really hoping we could get you on the show and just be able to kind of get your insight into things. I know, it'd be good to have another person who's really knowledgeable about the team as we kind of dive into the defense today. But I appreciate you coming on, man.
Always, always. I'm always prepared to talk OU football whenever. So
Yes, sir.
couldn't pass this up.
Hey, real quick, if you don't mind, normally when we have guests on here, some people may know about specific guests, some people may not. I kind of let the guests kind of tell us a little bit about their story as much as you want to, just how you kind of got into Oklahoma football, where that passion came from, how you got to where you got, maybe with Sooner Sports Daily and with the Sooner Scoop guys. Could you just give us a little bit of background on that?
Oh man, okay. So to explain how my fandom started, it's wild. So let me get all this correct. So my dad's side of the family, just about all of them graduated from Oklahoma. Um, my dad played at Oklahoma, as most people may know. My grandfather played at Oklahoma, and two cousins played at Oklahoma. Um, so it starts really in the 80s and then ends at about 2019 because
Yeah.
the first guy in our family to play at Oklahoma was Lee Morris Jr. He played under Coach Switzer in the 80s. And then his son most recently graduated in 2019. And, um, my dad played in, I want to say it was '03 to '05. And then my grandfather, Alvin Ross, also played under Coach Switzer in the 80s as well. So my mom graduated from Oklahoma, dad graduated from Oklahoma, and then a lot of cousins graduated from OU. My grandmother graduated from OU. So I really had no choice but to be an OU fan, and I can't complain about it at all. But you know, um, like when I was born in Oklahoma City, but the first house I ever lived in was some apartments right across the street from Owen Field, and they got knocked down now, but they used to be there. It's kind of a tailgating spot now. But grew up in Norman for a couple years, and in the house that I lived in Norman, whenever you walked outside, I could also see like the front of the stadium from there. So, like I said, I mean, I really didn't have a choice. And when you talk about OU DNA, that's something that I have through and through. Like, because for me, I'm still in high school. I play football as well, so I'm kind of going down that path as well as being the next, person in my family to play at Oklahoma. But yeah, it was something I was born into. It's something I've been loving since I was a kid. I remember the first game I ever went to, I think was 2008 against Baylor. Sam Bradford, it might have been 2009 actually. It was one of the years. It was the year after Sam Bradford won the Heisman, and Sam and DeMarco and all those guys were still around, and they beat Baylor. It was a game I went to for my birthday. I think I was 3 years old at the time, just turned 4. So yeah, I mean it's been something I've grown up around. It's something that my family we take very seriously. Um, Anytime you catch me, I'm probably wearing something OU related. Doesn't matter what it is. So yeah, I mean it's in my blood.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Great to hear that story. And where are you currently going to school?
Sophomore high school.
Sophomore.
More, yeah,
Gotcha.
about
Gotcha.
10 minutes away from Norman. Well, actually, about 5 minutes away from Norman. But
Right. That's
yeah,
dope. That's dope. Local kid. Well, hey, like, yeah, your parents got the name right. My name's Jalen too. So
yes, sir.
respect on that. Spelled the same way. It's always funny. I felt like, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but having this spelling of the name Jalen, I feel like this is correct. My parents named after Jalen Rose in particular, but I
Oh,
feel like
yeah,
this
that
is
was the
the
same
only
for
correct.
me.
Same for you, you said?
Yeah,
That's dope. Yeah, I feel like this is the only correct spelling of it. But with anywhere I go, they always put a Y in it,
right.
or it's like it's weird. It makes me mad, kind of. I don't know if you feel the same way,
Oh,
but
yeah, I've seen some things. I mean, I have to tell people sometimes how to spell it because,
yeah,
but yeah, like my dad, he picked my name, and I was named after Jalen Rose because that was his favorite NBA player,
yeah,
and it was either Jalen Rose or Braylon, which would have been after Braylon Edwards,
okay.
the receiver for Michigan. So I was going to have an athletic name regardless.
That's dope. My dad, same kind of thing. Jalen wasn't his favorite player, but he liked him,
Right.
kind of with the Fab Five. My mom was gonna name me King. That was her what she wanted to name me. So my my dad kind of said, "Nah, we're not gonna go with that. We're gonna roll with Jalen." So that's cool, man. That's what's up. Hey, let's go ahead and dive right in. And let's Trav, you had any questions specifically for Jalen before we move on to our defense?
No, no. Let's dive right in.
Bet. So as you guys know, and as I put out on Twitter, I said, hey, we're really going into our this time where we're a couple weeks away from the spring game, which, as you guys have seen, Trav put it out there with his shirt, and we've been blasting it on Twitter. We need to go ahead and pack the palace, right? Just like Coach Venables has asked us. I would be going, but as you guys know, I'm athletic director. I got a big time softball gig that we're hosting that weekend. If it was an away game, I'd be coming, but it's not. So, it's my job. But I'm gonna have y'all go there. Trav will be there. I'm sure Jalen will be there.
Yes,
So
sir.
y'all make sure y'all go ahead and pack the palace. But with that being said, we wanted to kind of these next couple of weeks dive into each position group in detail. We talked loosely about maybe players who we thought was going to break out, but we haven't really dove into position groups specifically. And so we're going to start doing that now. This week, you guys said you wanted us to do defense. And then I asked you guys to vote on what you wanted to do as far as which position group. And we started off with defensive line. So that's what we're going to do. Then we'll go to linebackers and we'll go to secondary. So, fellas, starting off with the defensive line, um, what are some things you're excited about when you hear names, obviously like Miguel Chavez, when you hear names like Todd Bates that we've gotten into this defensive line room, and then obviously you add some of the talent that we have in transfers and the talent that we already have. What are you expecting from the defensive line this spring?
All right. Um, you know what? I would say more violence, probably. I thought what Miguel Chavis said a couple weeks ago was pretty interesting. When he was mic'd up, he said something about "You will not play for me if you're not violent." And um, you know, like to me, in my opinion, I think that the for the past, let's say maybe three years, I think the D line has been the best unit on the defense. But when you add the talents of a guy like Todd Bates, and who I think, bias aside, Crimson Shades off, I think Todd Bates may have been the best assistant coach, position coach, whatever you want to say, hire in college football. I mean, he's a dude. And when you add on players like Jeffrey Johnson, who great player from Tulane, Jalen Redmond coming back, and some of the stuff that he's been able to put together, and assuming he has a fully healthy year this year, no injuries, no none of that. You also you add on a guy like Ethan Downs, Reggie Grimes. I mean, I think for the D line as a whole, it's so deep, but at the same time, it's deep, but there's also, I wouldn't say a lot of experience, but I guess enough. I mean, Jeffrey Johnson being a guy who was a captain. You add on Jonah Laulu, I think that's how you say it, the kid from Hawaii. And then shoot, that's about it for your long time guys on here. So I mean, I think what I look forward to is more violence. I think this is a year where uh, getting after the quarterback. I mean, that's what you want to do. And when you play in a conference like the Big 12, where you've had issues with mobile guys in the past, like um, the kid from Kansas State, can't remember his name, Baylor's
Skylar
quarterback.
Thompson.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson. I don't know if he's still there or not, but um, Gary Bohannon,
No,
Spencer
because
Sanders.
Adrian Martinez from Nebraska transferred to Kansas State.
Oh, see, yeah, I forgot about that. That's another guy too. I mean, he gave him some problems in the Nebraska game this year too. So I mean, I think that'll no longer be an issue, and I think the best thing is you won't have to worry about your best pass rushers being off the field in critical situations.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Especially, the rotations definitely. I think wore on the fan base late, wore on the players late. We definitely saw as well. One of the things that Jordan Kelly told me was he was extremely excited because of just how many plays Bates has. He said they've got 20 different plays on the defensive line where they only had like 4 or 5 under the last regime. So he's just thinking, look, we can do more. He trusts us to do more. And there's more of an opportunity to be successful under Bates. And when you look at just what he's done, I'll echo what Jalen said, just what he's done. All he's done is put people in the league, put people on all conference teams, put people in the first round. That's all he's done. So I think it was a fantastic hire. I'm really looking forward to the versatility along the defensive line. I think what's important as well is Coach Chavis. It's his first year coaching in an on-field role. That's been well publicized, and he's being paid extremely well, especially since he's a first-time guy. I think he's making $600, which is wild. So, you look at that, and he's a first-time defensive end coach, but Todd Bates was one of the only guys in the country for years at Clemson to coach all 4 positions across the defensive line. So you aren't pairing an interior defensive line coach with a brand new defensive end coach. You're pairing him with a guy who's coached all 4 positions who can help out. You're also pairing him with Venables, who both of them know him, worked with him, everything like that. So you didn't drop some new guy into a relationship with Coach Bates and say, hey, why don't you babysit this guy a little bit? He's new to the position. Like, no, it's these guys know each other. They talk like they're family. So it's I think just the synergy along the defensive line is going to be huge because, I mean, Jalen said it, the coaching is there. It's undeniable. The coaching's there. When you look at the defensive line talent we've recruited, whether it be through the transfer portal or just our recruiting rankings, we have talent there. There's no doubt about that. I still want to see big old thick Isaiah Coe in there clogging up some lanes. And there's definitely some opportunity along that defensive line. So really excited to see that unit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys both nailed it on the head. There's just so much excitement around the defensive line, and I'm not going to sit up here. Obviously, I don't think either any one of us is going to sit up here and act like the defensive line has been necessarily shabby per se. They haven't been terrible, even under the Grinch scheme. They were better than they were the last couple of years under Stoops. But looking at specifically last year and what we did have, and just knowing that Benito didn't get to rush as many times as probably would have liked him to, or they weren't on the field when we would have liked them to be, kind of things like that, or they were slanting instead of just straight up rushing, kind of like Perion has talked about ad nauseum this offseason. Those are different things that I think we're going to really like to see under Chavis and Bates. Jalen, you hit it on the head when you talked about violence. I mean, that was something that got Sooner Nation pumped up, right, when they saw that little video snippet from the OU football account. You're not going to play for me if you're not violent. And it was the cold stoneness that he said it with. He didn't yell it. He didn't go crazy. He's just like, hey, listen, you're not going to play for me if you're not violent. Like, and you could tell he meant it. So I think that's what for me is most exciting. There's a lot of stuff in the chat just about different people.
I'm going to pop on
wideout.
about Kelvin Gilliam. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to put up. He's put on a ton of great weight. Gilliam's got Kelvin dealt with some injuries last year, some unfortunate injuries. This is a kid that, was a Gatorade Player of the Year, big time commit to us. And yeah, he's put on a ridiculous amount of weight. Everybody was kind of doing double takes as they were going through the roster. So I would not be surprised to see him have quite the impact. It'll be interesting to see how the rotation shake out. But we got Mr. Buford Halton in here too. Cali Sooners, what up? What up?
Yes,
good to see you, my man.
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir.
Father
yes,
of dancer, track star.
Track star.
He's got the moves in the field. He's got the moves in the open field. He could be a tight end if we need him. The do-it-all man, Mr. Grayson Halton. So,
Travis, I'm glad you mentioned that about Kelvin Gilliam, because when I was out there, D-line, I think, was the second group I went over to, and I must have looked at him about 20 times trying to think, how did he get this big in so little time? He's huge. But Travis, you did mention it as well, just about like development. I think with like when you talk about somebody like Perion Winfrey, I think we can all agree that we had an expectation for him going into the season for him to be probably the best interior D lineman Oklahoma's had since Gerald McCoy. Like, the expectations obviously were super high, and I don't want to, get into banging on the last regime's head or anything, but it seems like with this group, things will be better from a development standpoint. Like Jalen Redmond, I think if all goes well, I don't see any reason why he's not a first round pick.
He's been nothing but productive ever since he was a freshman. Like, in very limited playing time, always been wildly productive. So the only reason I think he may, if he's not in the first round, I think it might be concerns about blood clots or something like that. That is just something you can't interview about. It's not something that you're going to find on film or anything like that. But he's certainly going to have the production. There's no doubt about that. What's up, C? And it's I don't know. I just hope they leave him on the field a bunch, because we've seen what he can do in short stints. Same thing that we saw with Nick Benito. We saw that he was second or third all time in pass rush win rate, and we had him dropping back in coverage if he was even on the field on third and fourth down.
Better than Chase Young.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's just behind one of the Boses. But that's what's absurd, because you're going to get that production out of those guys, but you're going to get it all game, and you're going to let them wear on them. Just like we talk about how Levy likes to use the offensive line and just wear down people, run late. We used to see this with Trey Sermon and Samaje Perine and all this. You bring in these guys and just wear on them late. I think Redmond has that physicality to really continue to wear on these guys, where you don't necessarily need to put in a bunch of fresh bodies to do it. I think he's just that much of a nuisance that he's going to be able to wear down offensive lines and win his matchup.
Absolutely. We'll get through a couple more. There's a couple more things in here I want to get through. We can answer this one and then another one, and then we can move on to our next position group, so we're not taking too much time here. Is there any names standing out so far in practice that you guys have heard? I know personally for me, obviously, Miguel Chavis, Chavis, I'm going to make sure I'm saying it right, but he personally talked about Ethan Downs at length, I think it was a week or a week and a half ago. And obviously not just even on the field, but just the character that he has and how he's an Oklahoma dude through and through. And that's somebody that I've been gung-ho on Ethan Downs a lot. And I think he is going to have a ton of upside. And so that's somebody that I think you could say has had really good practices. But Jalen and Trav, I'll let you guys kind of give what you've heard.
Yeah, Jalen, what's up?
I've heard a lot of good things on. You mentioned it with Ethan Downs. TD Roof has been outstanding from what I've heard. Um, Kanai Walker, the transfer from Louisville, and he got bigger as well from his time in Louisville. I think he put on, I don't know how much weight, but it was a lot. Um, Goodness, I want to say David Agwebu's been doing well, and we're still kind of waiting on him to officially break out. Um,
Which he's staying at linebacker according
yeah,
to the most recent news. So that's what's interesting.
Mike linebacker too.
Yeah.
And then I think I would say, trying to remember here. I've heard a lot of good things on Billy Bowman as well because he's finally settled into one spot. Like they're not going to be just throwing him everywhere. And he did kind of mention it the other day in a press conference that he was getting frustrated with the fact that he had to learn all these different positions. But I think they finally settled him in at safety and then slide Trey Morrison in at the nickel. I don't know. I mean, that my favorite thing about the whole thing is just like I remember when all these DBs were transferring, everybody was talking about, isn't that one too many? I mean, it's more competition. Like
Yeah.
that's something that
Can never
that's
have enough.
something
I
that
mean,
they
look at
need.
last year. Look at last year. I mean, with injuries and this, that, and the other. I mean, you look at it and my guy Pat Fields plays every single snap. I mean, he
Oh
led the
yeah,
defense in snaps, and
Prez.
he'll be the first one to tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you, I it's not good. I shouldn't be playing every single down. Like, I mean, he'd be the first one to tell you that. So, um, it's yeah, depth is always competition is always good. I'll throw a name out there. Obviously, I've heard along the same lines, especially Kanai Walker's footwork. His press footwork is has been praised. I think it was Woody Washington that was praising him. I could be mistaken on that, but I believe it was. Um, Justin Harrington, ever since he was announced to be back with the team, has apparently come along with a vengeance. You know, apparently that's a man on a mission. He came back in incredible shape, ready to work. He's been physical. That's a guy that we all looked at the measurables when we first got him, and he was extremely highly ranked as a JUCO. And we looked at the measurements and we thought, oh my gosh, this guy is exactly what we need. This is the size of player that we've been wanting, and we just never saw it come to fruition. So I'm extremely glad that he's back, and I honestly think this whole, kind of, venture into the transfer portal, and then you don't have much tape, so maybe maybe this is lighting the fire under him that we needed, as opposed to maybe if he just stuck around and did the same things he was doing. And I'm not saying that he was doing anything wrong, but he wasn't cracking the rotation. So he must have been coming up short in some area of his preparation or anything. So I hope maybe this is a situation where he sees that, hey, I got to change something if I want to, realize my dreams. So very excited that Justin Harrington, I've already heard good things in his limited time back.
And the other thing with the competition thing is like, I love Justin Broyles, great guy. But when you look back at that Iowa State game, the way that Charlie Kolar was just abusing him the entire game. I mean, if Iowa State had a quarterback that was worth anything, they probably would have won that game. Just throwing to him all game. And you think back to 2 years ago when Buki was here and he's going one-on-one with Kolar. I mean, when you have this competition, it's like Travis said, you no longer have to worry about guys taking every single snap. You can run. Now you don't have to rotate a lot, but you can get some rotators in. You can go with, maybe you go with Key Lawrence and Justin Broyles to start at safety, and then you throw Billy Bowman out there. You move Trey Morrison back, or Justin Harrington's doing his thing. You put him back there. I mean, there's so much you can do, and I love the fact that, like, Ted Roof said it, like they're going to be very multiple, and guys are going to play multiple positions. Like nobody really has just he's solely in this spot. People are going to bounce around. So I agree with everybody saying that this is the most excited they've been in a long time for OU football because it's just going to be so interesting to see how all that plays out, especially on defense. Because like me, like I was maybe 6 years old when BV left, so I don't remember a lot about his defenses when he was here. Of course, I've seen a lot of them at Clemson, but I can't really tell you like everything about him, about as far as schemes and how he does all that stuff. I mean, because I just don't really know that well. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to watch.
And I think to your point, and kind of as we're talking about depth, I think another way to say what you're saying is you're afforded the opportunity to go with the hot hand because you have somebody back that kind of like we saw with Keith Lawrence when he first came in. It was like, man, this guy, we can't keep him off the field, but he can play every position. You have that once you have that guy that can come in and just give you a different look without a drop off dramatically in play in production. I mean, it allows you to take risks like that, and then maybe you find out, okay, cool, man, this guy's playing out of his mind right now. We got to ride the hot hand. The depth allows you to do that because you're not afraid of the drop off.
Yeah. We've naturally gone into kind of the secondary position that we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes. Here's a question for you guys, as you guys have been kind of going back and forth about, things you've been hearing about Justin Harrington, Billy Bowman. I loved your point on Royals. Jalen, I on here a couple of weeks ago, I just said, I not that Justin Broyles is going to be a breakout candidate, but, as somebody who has been there for years, has the maturity level to be able to, do things in the Brent Venables defense. But does he
has gotten a lot. He has gotten a lot better too.
Yeah, and he's not an untalented dude. Like
no, he got baptized by fire, his freshman year. And,
yeah, right. So
he's been a lot better.
But there's competition, like we've been talking about. So with that being said, let me put this up here. Here it is. Who would you say, as of just right now, if you guys had to, if you had a gun to your head, somebody said, choose Oklahoma's starting defensive backs immediately, cornerbacks, nickel, and two safeties. What are we going?
I'll take the easiest two, Woody Washington and Key Lawrence.
Yeah,
I'll take the easiest two.
Okay, Woody Washington and Key Lawrence.
So I'll take for two corners. I would go Woody, of course. DJ on the other side, Key and
Trey Morrison.
Yeah, Key and Trey Morrison in the back, and then Billy at nickel.
Yeah, I think something that's important to remember about Trey Morrison is that he's got more games started than anybody on the defensive roster, I believe. I mean, he's got tons of real game experience. His tape's impressive. He's not afraid to hit. He's extremely physical. We've seen that. So I think that was a situation where you can bring in a guy like that and not have to worry about lapses in judgment, lapses in blown assignments, things like that. Simply because he's just got so much experience and you can plug and play immediately.
I think my biggest question, Trav, I want to know what you think about this. Do you think that Justin Harrington is going to be at safety, or is he going to be at nickel?
I personally think he's going to be at safety. I think they put Billy Bowman at nickel.
Okay.
But Jacob, to your point, Colton's not. He could definitely earn a starting spot, but since he's not with the team yet, I'm not sure. I'm not ready to slot him in because he has not even arrived on campus yet. I'm not ready to slot him in if he's not getting these spring reps with these guys. He could certainly get in the rotation, but I definitely like DJ. Well, now I don't. Jeez, Brian killing me. But I tell you what, we've got some young cats that are coming up too that we can't be sleeping on. There's no doubt. When you look at guys, I mean, RSJ. I mean, we talk about the linebackers, we talk about Kobe, and we talk about Jaron, and we talk about all these guys. Like, I don't think a lot of people, because RSJ was rated so lowly when we offered him, well outside the top 1,000, he ends up being higher ranked than Jaron Connect, higher ranked than Kobe McKenzie, higher ranked than everybody except our 2 running backs. So all he does is he gets the fan vote to go to the All-American game, and then he doesn't give up a catch at the All-American game and wins the speed competition at the All-American game. And when you look at stuff like that, it's like, I mean, it's going to be tough to keep him off the field very long, just because he keeps on exceeding expectations. So I don't want to put his expectations that we don't see him, he redshirts, anything like that, because he just keeps on proving everybody wrong. The rankings wrong, All-American wrong, a lot of our fans wrong, just keeps on proving. So I'm not going to be one to put him in that, put him in that cage, if you will, and say, no, you got to stay redshirted. So a lot of those guys, Jaden Rowe, once he gets there, Gentry, you're talking about like Olympic level speed, 10 threes, maybe not Olympic level, but I know Gentry was doing like junior Olympic club teams and stuff with his track. You can't replace speed at a lot of those positions. If you have that type of speed, and when you look at Jaden Rowe, who is just a monster, I mean, he's yoked. And he's the size and everything you like. You like him kind of everybody oh my gosh, how am I blanking on his name? The Clemson first round pick, kind of roamed Simmons, yeah. That's what a lot of people saw Jaden Rowe kind of being, with that size and speed and athleticism. So, and he plays. They're like, is he going to be too big to play safety? Is he going to have to move down to linebacker? He's kind of one of those tweeners, but in the good way on the backside. And he's got tons of coverage experience, because that's what he played in high school at Union. So it'll be tough. Like I said with Colton earlier, it'll be tough with Gentry and Jaden not on campus yet. Would have been awesome to get those guys on campus. But those guys, just from what they bring from a speed aspect and just a size aspect, I don't think it'll take long for them to start making some impact.
I think that's a tantalizing thing, right? Is knowing there's even still kids that are not on campus yet that are going to add depth. I mean, when we talked about last year, our linebacking position, like, we thought we had that kind of set in stone, and then Danny comes in the summer, and he absolutely lights it up enough where he's in the rotation consistently. And so,
right.
Obviously we can sit here in the spring and we can say whatever we want to say about who's doing what in this practice. But again, there's a lot of kids that may not even be there yet that may have stuff to say in the summer. Jalen, did you have something to say? I know you unmuted. Go ahead if you did.
Oh, no, I was good. I just wanted to say this about Jaden Rowe. We played against Union this past year, and yeah, he's huge. I mean,
he's that dude, man.
I want to say Union was on offense on one play, and I'm standing there on the sideline watching him. They throw a screen to him out of the backfield, and he just terrorizes everybody on the way to the end zone. Like, he's huge.
Yeah, he's wildly physical too. Because when him and RSJ, I was down on the sideline when they were playing in the playoffs, and like, RSJ's the biggest guy in the secondary too. When you look out on the field, you're like, oh, that's, when you get off the bus, you're like, okay, that guy's just bigger than everybody. So, but RSJ was on him, and Jaden was on him. When Jaden gets his hands on you, you're out of the play. Like, Jaden threw down RSJ on a play when he was playing press. Oh my God. I was like, they were talking about it afterwards too, but yeah, it's those guys aren't afraid to mix it up. There's no doubt about it. Very physical.
Man, that is crazy. I remember the first time I did see a picture of Jaden. I was just like, I think it was when Brent Venables went to see him after he had just gotten hired. And I was like, oh my gosh, like look at him standing next to BV. That is
that dude was playing corner in high school.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Silly.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the linebackers, the one position group we haven't hit. And honestly, the position group that I've been most critical of, even last year, I was very critical in the beginning of the year, saying I thought they were our weakest link on defense. And I think that proved to be mostly true last year. And I'm hoping that, and everybody's hoping that having a linebacker coach as your head coach, and a guy that understands the importance of linebackers in his defensive scheme as Brent Venables, that the linebacker play will get better. So I trust and believe that and hope that. And I think we have a lot of talent at the position. I think there's a lot of players that could be unlocked, whether they're very young, whether they've been here for a couple of years. But let me get your guys' thoughts on the linebacker room as it is now. Jalen, you want to go ahead and give us yours, and then Trav, you can go next.
I agree with you on being the most critical of that group. I think Brian Asamoah last year may have been the best player on the team, just as far as the football he was playing towards the end of the year. And I think he's going to make a lot of money in the league. But when this hire was made, I was kind of thinking if he came back, that's an immediate first-round pick, Butkus Award type guy.
I think we were thinking that about a lot of players.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you look back at Venables' track record, you look at some of the guys that he's produced at linebacker, it seemed like he could take a guy off the streets and turn him into an All-American. When you talk about a guy like Deshaun White, David Ugwebu, as we talked about earlier, Shane Witter, even TD Roof coming into the mix, I think this unit has the potential to be the best on the defense. And it seems like with Brent, it's like Brent, a common phrase that we hear as football players, especially on defense, is that linebackers are the quarterback. The middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. But it seems like with Brent, he wants every linebacker knowing everybody's job. Like, you got to know where to make this guy line up. You got to know this guy's assignment. You got to know.
And we're getting that across really the whole defense, because the corners are saying that they're not. It's not just their job anymore. They're getting more involved with the whole defense. So but I agree. That's huge.
Oh yeah, because I mean, there's nothing worse than being on the field and when you don't know your assignment, you ask the person next to you and he doesn't know either. You're just screwed. But when you've got a group where everybody knows what you need to do, that makes your job 10 times easier. And for somebody like TD Roof, he's a guy I'm really excited about. He's played a lot of football. I think Teddy Lehman said it earlier this afternoon about Roof was that guy that was like, he was telling the D linemen where they need to be. He knows this defense already, considering his dad is a defensive coordinator. So, he knows where guys need to be. He knows his assignments. He knows all of that. Now, if you let Brent tell it, Coach V has said that he doesn't think the depth at linebacker is great because not a lot of guys have played a lot of football. I mean, Deshaun White and TD Roof have played the most, and you can include Ugwebu in that as well. But I've been very high on Shane Witter for a long time. When you combine that speed with that physicality, I think he's set to have a big year. Like, that's the big thing I see with these linebackers is speed, because you talk about Shane Witter, you talk about Darren Canick, you talk about Kip Lewis. I mean, Danny, of course. This is a really interesting unit because there's so much. That's another position where there's so much competition. Like as of now, I think the rollout would be Roof, White, Ugwebu, and
You put Danny in there?
Stutzman.
Yeah. I'd put Danny out there. But
so you think TD's starting?
I think he will, because of the sole fact that, family ties aside, I think the experience, because he is the old head in that room. So he's able to to be the voice. I don't know if he's, an injury-prone guy or not. I don't really know that much about him, but just from what I know, I think he would be a part of that first group outside.
I can see that. I think even listening to Teddy and Gabe talk about it the other day, he's not going to give you the athletic freakiness that a Ugwebu might, or even a Witter as far as his speed, or even a Kanik, right? But he is going to know where he needs to be at all times. He's going to know where other people need to be. And he's a linebacker's son. That's what Teddy said. He said you can tell. And Teddy was obviously kind of talking off of firsthand experience and what he's seen at the practices. So, I think that you can do well with guys like that. And I think maybe that's something that Brent Venables has done well with, because you have your Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, but then you also have, and I don't know their names specifically, but you also have your random no-name linebacker there that makes plays all the time. So if we have a guy like TD Roof that can make the plays and he does it consistently, regardless of if he pops to anybody or not, we trust Brent Venables to make a decision. So, we'll see for sure. But I think Danny Stutzman just sounds like a Brent Venables guy. So everybody is kind of hopped on Mike, see what he's going to do. Trav, I'll let you go ahead.
Kind of what, as far as a personnel, I kind of be in the same lane. But I was going to add with just how much better this defense is going to be, especially long term. To your point, guys are just making plays because this defense, it won't feel as much like making plays, I don't think, because we're going to, I think, be a little more used to it. And it's going to be the standard is to make plays at the linebacker position under Venables. That, to your point, they may not pop. They may not look like it's popping. But if you put those same plays in the last few years' defense, we'd be like, oh my God, where has this been? You know what I mean? So I think Venables will be the one to, the tide that raises all ships, if you will. So I would say it's probably a good thing if we don't just see flat, these guys popping. It's just, we're making tackles. Where we're supposed to be. Because if you're constantly where you're supposed to be, we're going to have a good defense. Because that was a lot of the issues last year was the communication. They said that, they put somebody in motion and all of a sudden the communication's all messed up. You
can see it on TV.
They just
in the air. It's like, really
they just couldn't get on the same page. So I think just an improvement in that aspect of just getting on the same page. You hear the same thing from the offense, just the language, how much shorter the language is, got to go fast. That's one thing. I forget which defensive lineman said it. It honestly might have been Jordan Kelly talking about how great the offensive line's been with their pace, getting up on the line quickly, firing off plays, 12 seconds, really impressed by that. So it's always fun to hear the defensive line be impressed by the offensive line.
And Jalen, you made a great point about the no-name Clemson linebackers. I think the last two linebackers in Brent Venables' Clemson defenses that led the team in tackles were two dudes named James Kowski and Kendall Hunter, I think was his name. I don't know where those two are now, but yeah, you never really know who's going to pop.
Yeah, and like we've been talking about, and Trav, to your point earlier as well, being able to have somebody that knows and can be a extension of a coach on the field, I think is more important than having somebody that looks good out there. Because you can have somebody look good all day, but if they don't know what they're doing, it's just like having a Ferrari out there, but if you don't know how to drive it or a stick, whatever, then it's not going to do you any good.
They've got all the armbbands on and cool visor and everything like that. But
yeah. I mean,
you're missing tackles.
You look good, but you're shot out of a cannon going nowhere. So
yeah, right.
There's no point. Hey guys, we are now entering into kind of our Q&A portion we can continue talking about the defense. If you guys have specific questions about that, if you have questions about recruiting, whatever else, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I'll put them up here. Remember, we are going to be talking about offense next week. Not that we won't answer any offensive questions, so feel free to answer, ask if you want to. But, we will be diving deeper into the offense specifically next week. So with that being said, go ahead and drop questions in the chat. Jalen, you got a lot of fans out here.
Yeah.
Man. Jalen the Boss Ross.
Yeah, that's the nickname around here.
Is that your nickname?
Yeah. Quick nugget on David Ugwoegbu. A lot of our guys at Scoop have been talking about him. Now, this isn't something they've seen, but it's just a thought. They've been talking about him potentially playing edge.
Yeah, but I thought that was, that was a question that had been brought up a lot during the offseason, especially with his size. But I think word was, 2 days ago, I think, that that he was solely Mike linebacker, that he was only taking reps with the linebackers and he was going to stay in the position.
Yeah.
Because we had been hearing it over on 247. I mean, not that I'm not associated with 247, but I guess not technically, but they've been saying the same thing too. It's just, Ugwoegbu moving to edge, but we've got when you think all the guys we got at edge, you got Grimes and Strip and Downs and Clayton Smith and Josh Ellison. You got a lot of guys out there that you're like, I don't want to, not that he's a man with no flag, if you will, but I'd rather him kind of stick at linebacker. He's flashed so many crazy plays there, especially that tip up was Bedlam. It was either Bedlam or Texas, I forget, where he tipped it up to himself. I think it was Texas. It was Orange.
It was Oklahoma State.
Yeah, he tipped it up to himself and then caught stuff like that. You're gonna make a couple of those plays with him where you're like, good God, I don't know. But like I said, we've got half the chat asking about Clayton Smith. That's a guy, talented guy, 5-star for a reason. And you've just got a ton of talent out there. Stripling looked amazing in the bowl game. I heard he did I heard he cooked for the whole D line the other day. Punt. And apparently he's great. Apparently he's a great cook.
Wow.
He makes some badass po' boys, and his family owns a Cajun food truck in Houston area.
Oof.
And so when I put up my picture of my crawfish the other day, Jackson Sumlin hit me up and was like, man, you got to try Strips crawfish. I was like, let me know, man. You do a boil, hit me up, man. I'll be down there. Man. He's like, yeah, he cooked for the whole D-line the other day. I was like, how do you know you're not on the D-line? It's funny.
That's hilarious. Man, I was going to say real quick, my favorite David Ugwoegbu play, and what I think just gives you visions of what he could do, was against Florida. I don't know if you guys remember that play where he keyed the swing pass or the running back, absolutely blows up the wide receiver that's trying to block him, throws him out of the way, and then goes and makes the tackle in the backfield. And you're just like, oh my gosh. Is that his potential? Is that his talent? So
he's so much bigger than everybody that's trying to block him.
Yeah.
He did say the number one thing that I don't know if it was Coach Roof or Coach V, but he said one of the coaches, the number one thing they've been telling him is, or number one thing they've been teaching him is how to come off of blocks or taking over blocks, doing that kind of thing where he just throws somebody off of them and goes to make a play.
He can. You have no business blocking him if you're a wide receiver.
Right.
None. Zero. Here's the first question. Do we have a good shot at LeBlanc?
Yes, Derek LeBlanc. Yes, we do. You follow the visits. The guy plans on coming back, 3 more times? He's going to come back for Champ U. He's going to come back for spring game, I believe, and then I think one other time, maybe. So, that'll be, 7 visits, I think, after it's all said and done.
It's a lot.
And long visits. Like he's here for like 3 and 4 days at a time. This isn't just popping in, saying hi, not even checking into the hotel type of visits. Like these are long visits. They're going to see the sites. They're walking around the campus. Dad loves the spot. Like I would say you don't often have a recruit visit a place 7 times with long visits. I mean, you're talking about nearly a month of time combined spent in Norman. If you don't see a future there, we're in good shape. Jalen, what do you think?
I haven't kept up with his recruitment much, but I think when you put it like that, for a guy who's coming to Norman that many times, I don't see him going anywhere else. I mean, if you're here that many times for that long, clearly something you like.
Right. Especially unofficial visits.
Oh yeah.
Like we're not talking official visits where you can be wined and dined, and I mean Champ U will be an official, but it's
you cooking?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yep. The Tomahawks will be making their return to Brent Venable's house. So I'm told.
Hey. Well,
We'll
hopefully they don't get locked up there this time.
Hey, I'm excited. That one's gonna all your Sooner Scoop guys are gonna have fun with that one when I post the picture of me and Brent with the smokers.
Oh yeah.
I know they love that.
Are we still in the picture for Anthony Hill? From Denton Ryan.
Yeah, we are, but I think if he was to commit today, I think he'd probably be an Aggie. But I really do like Oklahoma's chances, though. I think it definitely comes down to Oklahoma or A&M.
Yeah, which is frustrating news to anybody that's been an Oklahoma fan for the last year. But
right,
it depends if they write him a big check, But I'll tell you what, one of the things that he talked about after his visits is he has a great relationship with Ted Roof. A lot of us, we talk about, especially with the defenders, great relationship with obviously Brent Venables being the linebacker guy, especially these 5-star guys. You're like, man, you imagine that Brent's kind of leading the charge on this, but the fact that he was mentioned Ted Roof without being prompted, didn't say, hey, have you talked to Ted Roof? What do you think of him? He brought it out. I thought that was pretty cool. So it's I think it will also matter with A&M how many people hit the portal and how many people, if they're still with all that talent, still losing 4 games, games they shouldn't, if that's still an issue, because, sure, you can sign all these guys, but these guys, a lot of them want playing time. And when you sign, 8 defensive linemen, it feels like you don't have room for them. So, and then, if they transfer, do they have to give back the money that you didn't disclose? Like,
I have heard some of the checks haven't been cashed yet, so some guys might get frustrated.
I'm just saying it's one of those things, like, if you don't disclose an amount and like it's just bagman stuff, like after you cash it and you leave, can they be like, hey man, we need that money back? Like, oh, what money? this money was never public.
Yeah, I wish I had it.
This isn't a lease. This isn't a lease type situation, because obviously when people get cars, it's usually in the form of a lease or some type of lease credit, and the dealership just takes those cars back. But the checks are a little bit different. They ain't leasing a check.
Mm-mm. Please tell me y'all saw the dude that tweeted earlier today complaining about how we didn't see any issues with Alabama having 7 straight number 1 classes, but when A&M has one.
Oh, it was Cam Dewberry.
Jeez.
He's like, how come everybody gets mad when we have the number 1 class? Because y'all ain't won nothing since 1939, and you lose 4 games every year. when Alabama's assigned a number one class, it's because they keep putting a hell of a lot of guys in the NFL, and they just played for or won a national title basically every year. I mean, they haven't had a single guy go through a Saban 4-year class or a four-year cycle without winning at least one national title. So this whole, like, the idea that A&M, like, just come out and say it. Like, stop being embarrassed that, like, dog, I would be diving through coins like Scrooge McDuck, double birds to the camera saying, yeah, we bought our players. Stop being poor. But they're all like, well, it's just, you're not crediting our coaching staff, which is doing such a great job of recruiting. They'll give me a checkbook. I'll go recruit the best defense in the country, offense in the country. There's a reason that Texas's offensive line was so highly rated is because they were paying them $50,000. Like this whole we want to credit our coaches for doing such a good job recruiting. Is it no mistake that A&M's paying everybody? Jimmy Haslam just bought a quarterback for Texas A&M for Tennessee for $5 million, offered a wide receiver $3 million. That's not recruiting, that's purchasing. So, like, if you've got a dude that goes out and buys hookers every weekend, you're not then saying that guy's got game. Like, that guy, man, got a mouthpiece on him, smooth operator. No, you're buying those dates.
Right.
Like that's what A&M, that's what Texas offensive line, that's what Tennessee's doing. But then they're still trying to say, oh, it's just because we're such great recruiters. It's just because we're so charming. It's just because no, you're buying your dates. Like,
well, my thing with that is, like, I wish I had as much dedication as Jimbo Fisher, trying to act like we're all in the wrong for thinking that that's what's going on, because you can't tell me that there's anything else. If you take money out of it, what else is enticing to that many kids to come to College Station?
Facts.
I get it. The atmosphere, their game day experience, it's great.
Yeah, atmosphere is great, but not that many.
Right. Like you said, Travis, they haven't won anything that's worth talking about in years.
Yeah. 1939. And then they retroactively gave themselves a Big 12 championship, and then they made up a Big 12 division South Division champion that doesn't even exist. That's not a thing. So, like, it's like Big 12 regular season champion that Iowa State allegedly won. But that's the thing. Like, Jonte Cook, you all saw that video. Obviously, it's basically gone viral now. Jonte Cook saying that Texas just had a bunch of swimming trophies, and all these A&M guys are clowning them. It's like, Texas has more football success than you. Maybe not quite as much as us, but it's like, so that's the thing. If Jonte Cook or anybody wants to walk through Texas facility and say, man, look at these swimming trophies, and then they go commit to A&M, who doesn't even have any swimming don't have no trophies. Like, what? How? You can't laugh at other people's trophies. And I know I'm sticking up for Texas here, which I'm gonna have to wash my mouth out with soap, but you can't pick on schools for putting swimming trophies up, and also the football trophies were directly to his left. But you can't make fun of people for putting swimming trophies up and then go sign to A&M.
Yeah,
can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. When that Aggie account tweeted it, I was about to tweet, I feel dirty defending Texas, but you have no room.
That's like the offensive linemen that were at the Texas game where they lost to Kansas. Yeah. And put it up on Snapchat laughing about them losing to Kansas. And then, well, $50,000, man. I'll stop laughing.
Thanks.
We are considering doing, so in years past, we did obviously OU DNA in the bones, and we cooked a bunch of them and basically had like a carving station. So as people walked up, we would just carve, like you would see like prime rib somewhere or something like that. What we're talking about, because it didn't really get, we didn't get the photo ops that I was hoping for with that. Obviously there's a lot going on. It's kind of a casual setting, it's a little family barbecue, you want it to be relaxed, but I wanted people to actually pick up the bone and bite into the steak, and then on the bone, it would say OU DNA. So as I talk to people about it now, we're actually looking to do maybe their Twitter handle, their Instagram handle, or their name for each of the official visitors. So then like that family would get one of the 3-pound tomahawks just at their table, and it would be that, so they could take pictures, just that kind of stuff. So, which, man, there's some long names.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna, there's some difficult names in the Kansas City area. There's some hyphenated names in the Southeast. Yeah, exactly. Hyphenated names.
Last name.
And then like Kevin Brown Schuler, obviously 2024, but it's a long name. T.A. Cunningham, another long name. I need some David Stone carving. Stone, I can do that. It's real short.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, that's good. Well, guys, we're just about out of time. So we've had an hour, and man, it's been great conversation.
I'm about out of battery. I'm at 5%.
Good. Right on time then. Jalen, we appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate y'all having me. Anytime y'all want me again, I'll be here.
Absolutely,
man. It was a lot of fun.
And guys in the chat, thanks for engaging as always and being here and making that conversation interesting. Remember, next week we will be talking about offense. So tell your friends, get everybody in here. Let's chat about that. We are still trying to find who else is going to come on with us to talk some offense next week. But we will have that announcement in the coming days, hopefully. So again, just stay tuned with us. And Travis is about to fly out to the Bahamas and enjoy some cocktails on the beach and have all of us jealous. So hope you're safe, man.
I'll do my best. I'll be watching the Masters, so hopefully
another Tiger Woods win.
Hopefully Tiger has some magic left.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Watching 2019, the end of 2019 today, and just how awesome that was, and it'd be cool to see that happen again. So
that'd be dope. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for engaging. We appreciate that, and obviously throw the Twitter follows around. Obviously Jalen Ross, Indy Sooner. I got my handle right there. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir. Boomer.
Sooner.